Welcome back to Around the Globe, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Section 1, a landmark ruling. The Supreme Court reshapes U.S. trade. Today, September 6, 2025, the Supreme Court delivered a landmark decision, striking down the Trump administration's sweeping tariffs as unconstitutional. This ruling has sent shockwaves through the political and economic landscape as it challenges the executive branch's reach in trade policy. The court ruled that only Congress has the authority to levy taxes on imports, ending a contentious era in American trade policy. This decision underscores the importance of checks and balances in the U.S. government, ensuring that no single branch can overstep its bounds. This decision dismantles a key pillar of the previous administration's economic strategy and reasserts the separation of powers. Former President Trump had argued that the tariffs were necessary to protect American jobs and industries, but critics claimed they led to higher prices and strained international relations. For small and medium-sized businesses burdened by high import costs, this is a lifeline. Many of these businesses have struggled to stay afloat under the weight of increased expenses, and this ruling offers a glimmer of hope for their future. For American families, it could mean lower prices on everyday goods, offering relief from inflation. The tariffs had led to higher costs for imported goods, which were often passed down to consumers. This decision could help ease the financial burden on households across the country. This decision marks a new beginning, sparking a national conversation about America's role in the global economy. It raises questions about how the U.S. will navigate trade relationships moving forward and what this means for the future of American industry and consumer prices. The ruling is not just a legal victory, but a pivotal moment that could reshape the economic landscape for years to come. Section 2. What are tariffs and why do governments use them? Tariffs are a fundamental part of international trade, but what exactly are they and why do governments rely on them? Let's break it down. At its core, a tariff is simply a tax on imported goods. When products cross a country's border, the government can impose this tax, making those goods more expensive than they would be otherwise. Tariffs can apply to a wide range of products, from electronics and cars to clothing and food. When a foreign company ships products to the U.S., the government can add a tariff, raising the final cost for importers and ultimately consumers. This means that the price you pay at the store for imported goods often includes this extra tax, even if you don't see it itemized on your receipt. Think of it as an entry fee for foreign goods, a tool used for centuries to shape economies. Tariffs have a long history, dating back to ancient trade routes, where rulers would charge merchants for the right to bring goods into their territories. Over time, tariffs became a key way for nations to control what entered their markets. Governments use tariffs mainly to protect domestic industries, making local goods more competitive. By making imported products more expensive, tariffs encourage consumers to buy goods made within their own country, supporting local businesses and jobs. This is especially important in industries that are just starting out or facing tough competition from abroad. For example, if a country wants to support its steel industry, it might place tariffs on imported steel. This helps local steelmakers sell more of their products, which can protect jobs and keep factories running. The same logic applies to other sectors like agriculture or technology. Tariffs also generate government revenue, though this is less central today than in the past. In earlier centuries, tariffs were a primary source of income for many governments, funding everything from infrastructure to national defense. Today, most countries rely more on income and sales taxes, but tariffs can still provide a financial boost. Tariffs can be used as leverage in foreign policy, pressuring other nations to change their practices. For instance, a country might impose tariffs to protest unfair trade practices, or to encourage another nation to open its markets. This makes tariffs a powerful bargaining chip in international negotiations. Lowering tariffs can foster alliances and cooperation. When countries agree to reduce or eliminate tariffs, it often leads to stronger economic ties, more trade, and better diplomatic relationships. Trade agreements like NAFTA or the European Union's single market are built on this principle. However, tariffs can also spark trade wars if countries retaliate by imposing their own tariffs, leading to higher prices and strained relations. Understanding tariffs is key to understanding how nations interact in the global economy. In short, tariffs are both economic and strategic tools, capable of creating conflict or collaboration. They influence what we buy, how much we pay, and even how countries relate to one another on the world stage. Section 3, the Trump tariffs, marks a pivotal moment in recent U.S. economic history. A bold strategy with broad consequences. In 2018, the Trump administration launched a sweeping set of tariffs, aiming to reshape the global trade landscape and reassert American economic power. These tariffs marked a sharp break from decades of free trade policy, targeting not only goods from China but also imports from traditional U.S. allies in Europe, Canada, and Mexico. The move sent shockwaves through international markets and signaled a new era of economic nationalism. The administration's stated goal was to reduce the U.S. trade deficit and revive domestic manufacturing by making foreign goods more expensive. The hope was that American factories would see a resurgence, creating jobs and boosting local economies. But tariffs were also wielded as a negotiating tool, used to pressure countries like China to change what the U.S. saw as unfair trade practices, such as intellectual property theft and forced technology transfers. Starting in 2018, waves of tariffs hit thousands of products, from raw materials like steel and aluminum to finished goods such as electronics, washing machines, and solar panels. The impact rippled across industries, affecting both large corporations and small businesses. In response, trading partners retaliated with their own tariffs, targeting iconic American exports like soybeans, pork, and whiskey. U.S. farmers and manufacturers suddenly found themselves caught in the crossfire of a global trade war. This tit-for-tat escalation disrupted global supply chains, delayed shipments, and created widespread uncertainty for businesses trying to plan for the future. Companies scrambled to adapt, sometimes shifting production overseas or passing higher costs on to consumers. Many businesses faced higher costs and lost access to key export markets, forcing some to close their doors. The Trump tariffs left a lasting mark on the global economy, reshaping trade relationships and sparking debates that continue to this day. Section 4. The ripple effect: how tariffs impacted businesses and families. Companies relying on imported materials saw costs soar, forcing tough choices, absorb losses or raise prices. For small businesses, tariffs threatened survival, leading to delayed growth, hiring freezes, or layoffs. Local shops struggled to compete as import costs rose, a story repeated nationwide. Ultimately, consumers paid the price through higher costs on everyday items. For many families, these increases strained budgets and reduced quality of life. Farmers were hit hard by retaliatory tariffs, losing access to export markets. Commodity prices fell, creating a financial crisis for many family farms. Tariffs meant to protect American industry ended up harming vital sectors. The Supreme Court's decision was rooted in the Constitution's separation of powers. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress, not the President, the power to set tariffs and regulate commerce. The court rejected the administration's claim of emergency powers, applying the major questions doctrine. The ruling draws a clear line: the President cannot unilaterally impose sweeping tariffs. This reaffirms checks and balances, ensuring Congress retains its core responsibilities. Future trade debates must now happen in Congress, restoring its role in shaping U.S. economic policy. The most immediate impact of the ruling is a massive refund. Billions in tariffs will be returned to American importers. For small and medium businesses, this cash infusion could mean new investments and jobs. Consumers will likely see lower prices as import costs drop and savings are passed on. This disinflation eases pressure on households, boosting purchasing power. The ruling is expected to de-escalate global trade disputes, with partners dropping retaliatory tariffs. Export markets will reopen for U.S. farmers and manufacturers. Restored trade relationships will boost investor confidence and economic stability. While challenges remain, many economists see this as a step toward recovery. The tariff debate is as old as America itself. Alexander Hamilton championed tariffs to protect fledgling industries. For over a century, tariffs were central to U.S. economic policy and government revenue. Tariffs fueled political conflict, dividing North and South and contributing to the Civil War. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930, meant to protect jobs, instead deepened the Great Depression as global trade collapsed. After World War II, the U.S. led a shift toward free trade, lowering tariffs through global agreements. The Trump administration's protectionism marked a return to old debates, now checked by the Supreme Court. This ruling places today's events in a long, complex history of America's global economic role. The Supreme Court's decision opens new opportunities for the U.S. economy. Small businesses can recover and grow with refunded tariffs. Families may see lower prices and improved living standards. Internationally, the U.S. can reset trade relationships and restore stability. However, industries once protected by tariffs now face renewed competition. Policymakers must support affected sectors and ensure free trade's benefits are widely shared. The debate over protectionism versus free trade now shifts to Congress. The future will likely see more targeted strategic trade policies. The Supreme Court has reset the board. Now it's up to Congress and the nation to decide the next move.